my name is Roger McKinney. I also go by the name of Sanajuan. That is my traditional Kickapoo name. Um, and that's actually what I sign all my artwork by. I was painting with oils all the time, and everyone's like, "Oh, your oils are so bold and stuff. Why aren't you painting with acrylics?" I'm like, "I don't have patience for acrylics," and so they're like, "Yeah, but you should try it." And I'm like, "Okay, I will stretch a canvas and I will do acrylic painting." So I stretched this. It's 6 feet by 8 feet, and it was during time, and I had a big studio space, and I painted that piece in 8 hours.
Really?
Yeah, and I kind of stepped back from it, and I was kind of like, "Wow, I think I kind of like acrylic paint." Show my artwork, and I can teach like a whole history of Native America just through showing my images. And so
Sorry, I'm doubling back because you were
okay,
talking about teaching through your work just
yeah.
without the education. But what brought you into what made you decide that you were going to be an educator?
Well, um, when I was in graduate school, I thought, hey, I might want to have something to fall back on.
Right?
And so when I was undergrad, my one professor that I talked to you about last, who got me to come in and actually draw and all that, he used to always say to me, "Oh, you should just be an artist only. Don't get married, don't have kids, just be an artist. And you could do all this stuff." And I'm thinking, well, how realistic is that? Because people meet other people, they fall in love, they
Right?
usually end up having families, then you've got other responsibilities like
Right?
caring for a home and cars and stuff like that. And so by the time I reached grad school, I thought, I might want to teach, and
Right?
having at least a Master of Fine Arts degree, I could fall back on that if that's the route I wanted to go. Because I was really thinking for quite a while, I just wanted to be an artist only, and other things like that. So um, that's kind of what started leading me that way. But the other aspect was, before I got to grad school, I had graduated as an undergrad with my art degree.
Right?
I didn't take any classes as an educator or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. Typically, if people are going to go into the education field, they take all the education courses with that so they can learn how to manage classrooms and pedagogy theory and all kinds of stuff for being an educator and everything. And my tribe found out that I had just graduated, and they called me and they said, "Hey, would you come home and teach at our school?" Because
Ah,
we do still have our own K through 12 school on the reservation, and the art instructor had just quit.
okay.
And so they're like, "We know you've got an art degree. We know you could come teach."
And so you answered the call, or did it
Yes,
take you a minute
yes, I
to?
did. So I was actually thinking about. I was kind of torn at the time. As I graduated, I was trying to decide either we'd actually made a trip down to Santa Fe
Mm-hmm.
to the Institute of American Indian Arts, and my youngest son went there and graduated from there. It's a great school. It's anyone can go there that wants to, but it's all taught by Native instructors, and a lot of really famous Native American artists have come out of that school, like Fritz Shoulder or oh man, there's just been a ton of people. T.C. Cannon, um, Alan Hauser. There's just a lot of Native artists, and not only did some of them were students there, but then they end up being instructors there again later on.
Really?
Yeah, so that was really cool because then not only were they climbing the ladder as professional artists, but come back. So I was thinking I might like to go there and take some classes, even though I'd already graduated, just
Mm-hmm.
to be around other Native artists. Because they're really, when I was in undergrad school, I think there might have been maybe 8 other students that were natives at the school.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do have association with them, but not the same as just going into an art school like that, where you just are surrounded by all this other stuff. And so I was kind of looking into that. But then the tribe called and said, "Hey, we want you to come down and teach." And I thought, well, I'm like thinking, I don't have that background as an instructor. And then the second thought I had was, you may not even like me.
Right? Right?
And I might not like teaching,
Right?
kind of a thing, because I just didn't see myself as being an educator. But I did go home, and I did interview with. I just said, look, they're like, "Hey, you can have the job." No, I would rather do a real interview with you,
Right.
see if you actually do like me.
Right.
And I want to
Smart.
know about the school and everything because I may not want to, I've got family here, my parents live here,
Right.
all that. And I understand reservation community life and all that. So, but I went home, interviewed, and I decided, yeah, I'll do it. And so we moved from Iowa back to the res in Kansas and to Kickapoo Reservation. And I taught K through 12 art, but mostly focused on high school students in art. And then I wore about 5 other hats. I was like the junior high PE, guidance counselor, acting principal, acting superintendent as well.
Wow. You're wearing like a bunch of hats at once.
Yes. I felt like it just was a natural thing. And I just thought about the things that, like I said, that I'd learned all through the years, like going through school. What did I do in first grade? What did I do in kindergarten? What did I, junior high and high school and all that. And so I proceeded to set up all the programs for the art, photography classes and ceramics and all that. And I loved it.
Right.
And I was thinking, wow, I would never see myself as being a teacher at all. At all. And so at that point, I was kind of already starting to work on my art because I thought I'd already started selling stuff at college. We used to have art sales and stuff on certain days, like on a Saturday at the college, and you're running silkscreen prints and paintings. You could sell them for whatever you wanted, ceramics, because the art department loved it, and we'd set up this whole thing and sell artwork. And so at the time I got into teaching, I was already starting to look at markets and all that, and starting to sell some stuff and teaching and all that. And I was thinking, man, I think I could do both at the same time. I think I could have an avenue to do my art, and but also it's nice having someone else pay for your
Right.
health insurance and all those kind of things. And if it allows you the time to be able to do that, and so that's kind of the direction I think that started leading me to think about getting more serious about teaching. Ended up working for the Phoenix Indian Center, ended up working for the Heard Museum. I was the educator for the Heard.
I didn't know that.
And
That's really
I did
cool.
that for like 4 years and teaching. So you taught everything from kids coming in for field trips to the docents. I taught all the docents on all the information, like when they give a tour in the museum, and they have to be able to talk about all the cultural materials and the the showcases and walking people around, and Native peoples of the Southwest and indigenous peoples of the world, and I think even the Native peoples of Mexico and that kind of thing. So we covered quite a bit, Native artists and everything. And someone ran into me though at the Phoenix Indian Center. I was actually over there teaching Native students and other people who wanted to get their GEDs.
Okay.
And they came into the classroom and they're like, who painted this room? Because there was a big room that we would teach. And then I did murals like on all the walls and stuff. And they're like, man, this is awesome and stuff. And like, who did that? I'm like, I did. and then they saw me teaching students and they're like, why aren't you a college professor?
Right.
And I'm like, well, I thought about that. But I just I saw other things about the sort of the hiring processes. When I was a student in Washington, D.C., I was a student on some of the faculty hiring processes. And I saw the politics that can be involved in all that. And I thought, well, if that's what it's all about, I'm just not really interested.
Fair.
But Loretta Damon had come into the Phoenix Indian Center, and she actually used to work at Mesa Community College, and she just said to me, wow, I really think you ought to apply over to Scottsdale Community College. She says, either to our American Indian programs or to the art department. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, how do I do that? And she told me, what I need to do. And so I applied to SCC and ended up working in the American Indian programs for 4 years and being the acting director there and other things. And one day Joe Ortiz came to me, who is one of the instructors there, and Joe was an acting dean at the time, and he says, hey, we got this other program going on in art. And he goes, I really think you ought to apply for it. And I said, okay, and so I was wearing two hats there. I was running as acting director of American Indian programs, and I was teaching over in the art department, like as an adjunct,
Okay.
kind of a thing. And so while I was teaching the adjunct part of it, I actually wrote the curriculum for, or the course competency for the history of American Indian art class for
Okay.
Scottsdale Community College, and also transferring over to ASU and that kind of thing. And it finally came down to a moment where I had to kind of choose. Yeah,
Right.
I had asked to be consider being associate dean of students. I was asked to consider being the director of American Indian programs, and also asked to consider applying to be a faculty in the art department. I went back to the dean at the time, and I told her, I said, I really love the idea that you see this quality in me, but I don't want to do administrative stuff. The one day I had just done my interview with the art department and everything, and I'd come back down to my art office. I think pretty much most of the full-time faculty were out of the building at that point. Adjuncts were still teaching and that, but I was sitting in my office. I had the door open, and I remember sitting in the office, and basically I just said a prayer out loud in my office. I said, okay, God, look, I've done my homework on both the American Indian programs as well as the art department. You know that you've given me gifts to be able to do either or, and sometimes crossing that and everything. And but I just really feel like I'd really like some direction.
Right.
And if you want me to be in the art department, I'd ask that you just show me what it is that, give me some kind of sign about it. And I said, if it's a yes, I'm totally good with that. If you want to close that door, I'm totally good. I know that I could serve the people really well over in American Indian programs, and vice versa. If you want me over here and so forth. And I'm talking just like this out loud in my office. My door's
Right.
open.
Yeah.
I knew all the
Amen.
faculty's gone, so I was like, I didn't care, but I'm just having that conversation with God. And I just said it like that, and I just kind of was being still, and all of a sudden I hear this noise come in my office door, and my office door was on the right-hand side, and I had a swivel chair. I had a big desk behind me and my desk in front of me, and I got a nice window that looks north in the office there. And I hear this sound hop into my office, and I hear it cross the table. And so I'm in my chair, so I start to pivot around to follow the sound, but I'm just a little bit behind the sound because I'm hearing it move. And I'm like, what the heck is in here, And I turn around and I look in my window, and there's a cactus wren sitting in my window inside my office. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this cactus wren had to get into the building somehow, make it into the hallway where my office is, make it into my office. And it's in my room. And I looked at the bird, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, you have a message for me.
Wow.
And as soon as I said that, I actually was saying it out loud, like, you have a message for me. And so the bird, where my window is pretty close to my head. And so the bird just kind of hopped right over and got right on the edge of the windowsill, like it was trying to lean into me. And so I just kind of leaned into it a little bit, and then it kind of turned its head like a certain way. And in our traditional way at home on the reservation, if you have something prophetic to share with someone, if you've got glasses on, you take your glasses off, because they don't want the spirit to get in the way. And if you're wearing a hat, you take your hat off. But I've also seen elders at home sometimes where they couldn't get their sunglasses off, or their other reading glasses or something like that. And so they just tilt their head a certain way so they make sure that we're having eye contact.
Right.
And so this bird just tilts its head, and I thought, oh, wow, you're coming to tell me that I got the art department job. Thank you very much. The bird just hopped off the windowsill onto the floor and started hopping out my door. I stood up. I followed it down the hallway, out through the art gallery, and it got over to the door, and we have power buttons on the door. And I said, thank you very much for bringing me that message. Wow. And I pressed the button on the door's open, the cactus wren flew away. I didn't know that cactus wrens at the time were really special to the Salt River, Pima, Maricopa Indian Community people. Sat down in my chair and I thought, wow, thank you, God, for giving me the direction. And I knew that I was going to get a phone call. And I just sat there and I waited. In about 10 minutes, my phone rang. The district had said, hey, we'd like to offer you the art department job as an instructor. Would you be willing to accept it? And I said, yes, I would. I said, I knew you were going to call.
That's
and
wild.
And so that changed again my course for being a full-time instructor at the community colleges for like, I guess, 20 years. And
You, on so many opportunities, could have went a different direction.
Yeah.
But you were pulled by God for the path that you took and changing people's lives.
Yeah.
It's awesome, brother.
Yeah. So that's kind of, and I have to say the whole time that as an instructor there, not only the inspiration that students brought to me, but I feel like, that I would bring to them too, that, sometimes as an instructor, you're like their parent, you're a counselor,
Totally.
you're a big brother, you're like an uncle. I mean,
Right.
they're like, you wear like all these hats, and, and if you treat people with respect and with love, you try to recognize who they are as individuals. My whole goal as an instructor was always to try to make them better artists than me, because before being a full-time instructor, I was doing galleries regularly and I was doing markets and all of that, and it was a very good thing.
What was your experiences with galleries?
Well, some galleries were very, very positive. I started doing galleries about mid-'80s, early '80s. I started doing galleries, and some of the galleries were very, very positive. I mean, and it, depending on the relationships of galleries. Early galleries, back in the '80s, galleries would do things like, if you're going to have a show, they would host everything. They'd do all the advertisement for you. They'd print stuff up for you, get it all up there. They would host the event and, send out the invitations and all that kind of stuff. Over the years, that has changed, obviously now with the internet and all that, people having websites and all that. But somewhere, I don't know, maybe I'm going to say mid-'90s, it almost just felt like everyone's like, oh no, we now don't do any of that stuff for you. If you just want to come show in our gallery, great. We'll take our percentage, we'll take our 50% or 60%, and you can show, but we don't really do anything for you, and
Right.
that kind of thing. And so that has all changed quite a bit. Some galleries probably today would still be more, how would I say, as far as the hosting and all that kind of things to get your work out there, advertisement and everything. But, and then sometimes it was really positive because people, come in and say, wow, we love your work. We really want to push your work. They would just plaster you on everything. They'd host events and you'd sell your work and everything and say, hey, we need more work,
Right.
because we just sold all your work. Other times it would be things like, oh no, you can't talk to anyone outside of our gallery. You need to send everyone here.
Wow.
Yeah. So you'd be like, oh really? Wait a second. I didn't sign anything,
Right.
agreement to that kind of, or I did a gallery once in New Mexico in Santa Fe, and they wanted me exclusive for New Mexico. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. For New Mexico, I'm exclusively yours, and you
Right.
guys market it all there. But I live in Arizona, so I'm over here and I run into your patrons over here. And I talk to them. Then they'd be calling me and like, oh, well, you talk to some of our people. You can't do that. I'm like, yes, I can. I'm
Right.
not in New Mexico.
Right.
I'm in Arizona, and I'm exclusive to New Mexico. And if I run into your people over here and they want to buy artwork,
That's a whole different
it's
story.
a total different story.
Right.
And probably if they do buy stuff from me, in the long run, it probably will also be beneficial to your gallery too,
Right.
because I'll still guide them back, especially if they live in New Mexico, to say, hey, they've
Right.
got a whole gallery full of stuff, kind of thing. So there'd be control issues sometimes. Copyrights can be a big issue. there's a lot of people who want to be artists, but you have to also learn the other stuff
Right.
that goes along with it, and how to manage your time, how to manage your money, how much are you going to invest back into your work. Copyright stuff, like sometimes filling stuff out and sending it into the Library of Congress.
Right.
I like the painting behind you when someone in Canada was producing gift cards for me that were sold worldwide. Well, copyrights both for the U.S. and Canada, but then stuff being sent out into other parts of the world, and
Right.
signing contracts and all that, and all that, and making sure like other people aren't then taking those images and reproducing them in some other fashion and stuff. And I was showing a gallery in Ventura, California, and my sister and I had done a 2-person show. My sister's a ceramic artist, and so we did a brother-sister show, and I guess the show had been there about a month or something like that. My sister gives me a call one day. She goes like, "Oh my gosh, I just found out the gallery's going to close." And he's not telling anyone that the gallery is going to close. And she says, "We both have work there." She says, "Would you go over and get it?" And he still owes my sister money, and he still owed me money.
Wow.
Because of sales of stuff that had gone out. Because sometimes finding out with galleries how they sell their work, like, do they have the piece completely paid off before it goes out the door, or
Right.
are they letting people make payments on it and things? And if they foreclose, what are the loopholes and stuff? And basically California had a loophole. He had a silent partner, and if he closed the gallery, we wouldn't have been able to touch him.
Oh.
And then it would have been a big legal thing, and it would have cost us more to deal with than what he probably owed us at the time. So basically I got a trailer, drove over,
Picked all your
got
work up?
everything, packed
Wow.
all of her work, mine, brought it back to the house. So there's just all kinds of things about galleries. Some galleries, like I said, been wonderful, shady,
Right.
and they're not on the up and up with you.
Right.
And there are laws that will protect you. Arizona's got some great laws at least in the past. I haven't looked into them lately, but that will help protect artists and ask them questions like, well, hey, if stuff comes into your gallery, is it all insured? If you guys have a fire,
Right.
is my work all covered?
That's important to know.
Just all kinds of things for people to know. And like I said, I've had requests in the last few years to come and present work to some galleries here, even in the area, and so I do need to go do that. I've been
Okay.
procrastinating because
If you do, can you let me know? Because I will
yeah
come and film that.
yeah absolutely. Because trying to figure out where you fit in with your work, what is your niche,
Right.
Sometimes. And so in the past, when I would go look at galleries, it'd be like, okay, I need to see what everyone else is doing in
Right.
here. Does my color work good? Does my subject matter work good in there? Is it just going to stick out like a sore thumb?
Right.
Because if people are coming into a gallery for another ideal, and your stuff isn't going to fit in there,
Right.
they're not going to look at your work.
Right.
So, and to realize, even as an artist, if sooner I think artists could realize, look, not everyone's going to like what you make or
Right.
do, but there are people out there who do. And as long as you're good with that, then you don't have to like, well, everyone's got to be in love with my
Right.
work. And it's like, no, they don't. Doing markets in the past, I actually enjoy more than doing galleries.
Really?
Yeah, because with markets you get all the direct sell. It all
Right.
comes to you.
Right.
You're still responsible for like taxes and filing your taxes and filling out paperwork for the state or whatever. But the conversations that you have with people,
Yeah.
if you're willing to go do markets, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of work, and you got to get all your work out there. You got to set up a booth, be there all day long, for like a weekend. You'd probably answer the same question 1,000 times. Like someone would come up, and sometimes I'd even be doing demos in my booth sometimes, and people would walk up like, "Are you the artist? Are you really making this?" And
Right.
like, "Yes, I am. I don't see anyone else here, making it." But that kind of stuff, and you get asked stuff like that, and you usually are drained.
Right.
After a weekend, I mean, you are like toasted.
After setting up and
yeah,
bringing down.
yeah, and then and sometimes you don't have any sell.
Right.
And if you've had to travel for some show and you've paid a booth fee, whatever that is, for the weekend. And now I'm going to say like $700, and you go and you travel there and you got your hotel costs and your food costs and
Right.
gas and all that. And you don't have any sales. It can feel really disappointing,
Yeah.
but then you might go to the next show and hardly make any effort and you sell out.
Right.
And you're just like, wow, what happened?
Right.
What was the difference about this versus that? And then, then it is encouraging, to keep going on and so forth. So there's pros and cons about all of it.
Right.
If you don't like dragging your stuff around and you want to find a gallery to sell your work and they take 50% of your sale, then you just have to be happy about that, because guess what? I'm not paying gas. I'm not buying an art display. I'm not having to worry about lighting and all those kind of things. And so there's wins about both of it and losses about both of it. And
what would you like your legacy to be?
the things that I've created would be inspirational to others. I think all of us would love to, I do have some stuff in museums, and it's a cool thing maybe for your ancestors, in the future generations, to be able to say your kids, your great grandkids, walk in and say, wow, that was made by my great grandfather or something like that, which is kind of a cool thing, because I think that's part of keeping people alive. It's just like through books or music or things. That's why it keeps those individuals alive in other people's lives. But at the same time, I think, well, hey, you know what? If I've used all my gifts to the best of my abilities and lived a good and honorable lifestyle, I'm happy with that.
Right.
Even like when we're given our traditional native names, you're supposed to live an honorable lifestyle, or your name can't be passed on to the next generation.
Wow.
And if you haven't, then it has to go into a cleansing period before that name can be gifted to someone else in a future generation. And so I always think, well, if that's the case, then I want to live an honorable lifestyle, no matter what I do, and whether it's creating art or not creating art, I'm good with it either way. And I do think that we have, how would I say, sometimes I think we have chapters in our lives where different doors open to us because of our gifts and talents.
Right.
And maybe at one point in time, I was like, hey, guess what? I've been very successful as an artist. I've been included in books of sort of like the who's who's of Native American painters and that kind of thing. And I'm happy about that. And if I had to stop doing art right now, I would still be happy about that, because I feel like there's something else probably that I'm supposed to be doing. And I need to discover what that is. So I think, like I said, if I live an honorable life, I think that's the thing that'd be the legacy that, I'd want to leave, that I care about others and all of that. And if I can help others become great artists, then I'm here to say, hey, how can I help you?
Right. Well, I've gotten that from you over the years. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for watching. If you could subscribe. Are there any websites or anything that you want to shoot out?
I don't have it. I don't have
Okay.
anything right now.
Okay.
Everyone keeps bugging me about, when are you going to do your website?
Right.
And I keep saying, I promise this year I will get a website up and running. Trying to get some other things like a coffee table book up and some other things, but I don't yet. But if people want to reach out to me, they're welcome to.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time, Roger.
Yeah. Thank you. So, thank you, John.
Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, this is one of my sister's pieces. Her name's Paponi, and I think this one's called Dancing Doctors. So kind of almost a rock art look and texture to her piece. This one was inspired by, I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're called, we refer to them as puffballs. In the Midwest, they have like these, they're little like white fungus, and they grow and they kind of actually have a shape like this. And when you step on them, they, all the spores poof out like a little puffball. And my sister one day was looking at one of those, and that's actually what inspired this particular shape. But this actually has, you can see animal images all the way around it.
That's beautiful.
And so forth. So this one's about one of our creation stories about First Woman. So we have a traditional story about First Woman. She represents Mother Earth, so we call her Sakokwa. And first man, his name was Wujika, and Wujika is coming to the earth, but he hasn't arrived yet, so Mother Earth is waiting for him to arrive. And so when he arrives from heaven, in our traditional story, we call ourselves Anishinaabe. For Native people, it means the people. And so the word translates as whence lowered the male of the species from heaven to earth. And so Mother Earth, she's waiting for first man to arrive so she can begin to teach him the lessons of life